that's how you get attention. And that's how you get things done.
So I believe we are both planning on attending
Yes.
this year, and I will register.
When do you need to know from the rest of the members?
They haven't actually put out an official registration notification yet, but I just wanted to bring it up to give everyone enough advance notice to see if anyone else was interested.
I responded, I got the notice from the Suburban Coalition directly. And
You did,
too.
okay.
I responded.
Is it a buffet or sit-down breakfast? or
Breakfast, it's
just-
a buffet.
It's a buffet,
Okay.
You have to-
but it is quite
They don't have
good.
any waiters.
Jerry, just,
$200 a year, you don't get waiters.
this isn't directly related to that, but it's tangentially related. And, I guess there was a presentation in Boston made last week by MASBO on a research project, and it was called Cutting Class, Underfunding the Foundation Budget's Core Education Program. And I know that they have offered that they'll come out to other school districts to make the presentation. So today I received an email from Maureen Vaca, former school committee member, suggesting that she said she spoke with the presenter in Boston, and he would be willing to come out here. It'd be a great education for townspeople about how the foundation budget works, how it's put together, et cetera. She said she'd be willing to set it up if we would, quote, sponsor it. I don't know if that requires any money or not, but she also suggested, and I think it's a great idea, that we contact local school, surrounding school districts, Linfield, Reading, Wilmington, Andover, North Andover, and see if they want to also invite people from their town to come here. I assume we'd have it in the auditorium. I think that'd be a good idea.
Who's going to try to coordinate that?
So I was brought up to you. I thought you might want to contact Mrs. Vaca, and
Sure.
because I just wanted to see if everybody here thought it was a good idea. I don't see any downside to it.
Yeah, I think it's good,
Yeah.
a good idea. That report that they came out with is.
Yeah, it's really good.
Pretty telling
Yeah.
about why we feel the strain every year.
Right. Exactly.
So are you comfortable with saying that the North Reading School Committee is sponsoring this event when we
Yeah.
put a
Yeah, as
press
long as there's
out?
no cost.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Right, no cost.
I don't think there's any cost involved. I mean, they might need a projector and some
Yeah.
things from us in the auditorium,
We're
but.
getting good at setting up the auditorium.
Yeah.
We
So
are.
I just wanted to bring that up, and then if the committee was fine to have you contact Mrs.
And
Vaca.
as an aside, it would be nice to invite the surrounding towns to come
Right.
to our place.
Exactly. Instead
And
of
see how we
see,
live.
see why we need a new school.
Yeah.
Do you have a time of year you would like that done?
I think in the next month or so, because to get it in before we really start getting into the budget process here, just to help people understand. But she didn't suggest any date or time. I know that Worcester is going to have them February 15th. They're going to Worcester to present the same thing, and Worcester was looking for co-sponsors. Again, I don't know when they ask for sponsors, I don't know exactly what that means, so that's why I thought you could touch base with Maureen.
Touch base with Maureen. So maybe the end of February?
End of February, early March.
Early March?
Yeah.
The only thing I wonder is if we want to do something before, should we wait till we vote for the school project before we do something like this? I don't think it really has an impact on that, does it?
No, I think the thing that it would do, if we could somehow manage to get it on TV.
Yes, and I think that'd be a good idea.
That would help people understand what some of our issues are.
Right.
And perhaps initiate some more letters to the legislature and the governor to think more kindly about education funding.
All right. I'll contact Mrs. Vaca.
And then there was one more thing I just wanted to, Carl had forwarded along to me a document, and I don't remember exactly where it was from, but it was an interesting document that shows the actual percentage of a town budget spent on school expenses. Was that
Yes.
what it was? And the interesting thing is North Reading, we're not that far below, but we're not even at the state average for what towns spend on, we're close to the state average. We're a little bit below, correct, Carl?
Yes.
So, it seems like we're asking for more money every year, which we usually do, but we're still not even keeping up with the other towns and the average costs that other towns are experiencing in running their school districts. Where was that from? What was the?
Department of Revenue.
So it was a DOR.
It's an independent source that summarized, as you say, the percentage of dollars expended on education versus municipal on an annual basis, and it's a easy to read and understand website.
Yeah, it was great.
My recollection is that that DOR page gives you all of the services broken down, and when you look at that, and
Yes.
you've sorted, I pulled it into Excel and sorted it to see how we fit in all of the different categories. And we surprisingly fit right in with just about everybody else.
Right.
That's pretty close to the same kind of split.
Yep. That's it.
Okay,
Which
any
is
further-
amazing considering that we have so many more kids per population.
Yep.
All right, so we'll let the superintendent know if anybody else wants to attend, in addition to Cliff. All right, routine matters, bills and payrolls, I think, did we circulate that and get 3 signatures? We did. Minutes, okay, this is a little unusual, this only happens once in a great while. We have in close for approval executive session minutes, going all the way back to June 10th of 2002 and up through April 14th of 2003, which are being considered for release to the public domain. Now, the minutes have been redacted. Kathy, can you tell us how the minutes were redacted? Who was actually responsible for that? Do we-
My administrative assistant moves through all of the minutes and removes all of the identifying information in there that could link any conversation in executive session to a current employee.
And I want to make clear that we're not approving the content
No.
of these minutes. We're just approving releasing them, which I think we're required to do. I'm not sure, is it a 7-year? I'm not sure how.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis. So these are minutes that go back, 8, 9, 10 years, some of them.
What's the reason, I noticed, I didn't bring my document with me, but I noticed in the front of it, it said, agree to release, not release. What would be a reason to not release executive session minutes? I thought we were required by law to release all
Well, I
of them.
think there could be maybe an issue of whether something should be redacted that hasn't been, for one
Right,
thing.
if you saw something in here that you didn't.
Okay, but what I'm saying is eventually we have to release all of
That's
them.
correct.
Right, that's
If
what.
there's a
okay,
situation that is ongoing or reoccurring, then you won't release.
Right.
So what I'm gonna do really quickly is just go through the dates, and if anybody has an objection to any one set of these minutes being released, just bring it up or raise it.
I went through all of them, so I'm
All right.
fine on all of them.
Okay,
I went through all of them, had no.
okay.
So,
All right, so we have June 10th, 2002, June 24th, 2002. First session was at 7, June 24th, 2002 at 10:29 p.m. July 16th, 2002, August 1st, 2002, August 26th, 2002, September 9th, 2002, September 23rd, 2002, October 7th, 2002, October 16th, 2002, October 28th, 2002 at 7:05 p.m., October 28th, 2002 at 10:41 p.m., November 12th, 2002, November 25th, 2002 at 7 p.m., November 25th, 2002 at 9:44 p.m., December 9th, 2002 at 7 p.m., December 9th, 2002 at 9:24 p.m., December 13th, 2002, December 16th, 2002, January 13th, 2003 at 7:06 p.m., January 13th, 2003 at 10:07 p.m., January 27th, 2003 at 7 p.m., January 27th, 2003 at 9:54 p.m., February 10th, 2003, February 24th, 2003, March 10th, 2003, March 24th, 2003, and April 14th, 2003. If anybody has any objection to any one date, executive session minutes being released, we can file a motion excluding that particular date. Otherwise, I think we can take one motion to approve all of the executive session minutes being released.
make a motion to release to the public all of the executive session minutes cited by the chairman.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mel and a second by Cliff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, none. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
I get a little nervous when I see my name on those going all the way back to June
Yeah,
2002.
that even preceded me.
Yeah. Budget update, nothing at this time? Cal? Okay, no staffing changes, no bids and donations, so we'll go right to subcommittee updates. I think the only subcommittee that's met since our last school committee meeting is the athletic subcommittee, which met on January 17th, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Webster to provide us with a summary of that meeting.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. We had a couple of key issues we focused on. One was the interim concussion policy, and Dave Johnson, the athletic director, and Mr. Bernard, the principal of the high school, are working with the superintendent to put together our final policy with help from the policy that we received from the Mass Association of School Committees, and we need to get something approved before March 1st, correct? So we'll have to have a first reading the first week of meeting in February, and the second reading the second meeting in February.
That's correct.
For our formal concussion policy.
We got pretty much a boilerplate from Mask, right, on
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And I know that Mr. Johnson and Mr. Bernard and the school nurse, and I think they were going to appoint a few other people as required to their subcommittee to discuss all the issues. And Mr. Johnson also did a lot of work putting together some guidelines that would be attached to the policy. I think the key thing is we want to make sure that everything in the guidelines complies with what's in the policy. So that's moving along. The other issue we had, this is always bad news when we have Mr. Nelson as our special guest at the athletic subcommittee. Usually means there's a money issue. Not that Carl's bad news, but we are once again running a deficit with the athletic revolving account. Basically, same issue as last year, where students on reduced or free lunch programs are not required to pay the athletic fees. Another issue is we did have a drop off, about 25 fewer athletes for the winter season than we had last winter, and right now there's a potential for an almost $32,000 deficit by the end of the school year, which would be a little more than we had last year, not much. Jerry and I, at the committee meeting, asked Carl and Kathy that when they're putting together the budget for next year, that we're going to have to start putting more money from the town authorization into the budget to cover athletics, because we're going to be running this deficit. And until we see that going away, we can't continue to run the deficit. Then at the end of the year, we have to look for the money to put back into the budget.
So the revolving account, which has always subsidized the appropriation that we make from our budget, is running a little bit short of the subsidy that we need. And it's, I forgot to bring my notes.
I have the notes. We have the budget appropriation for sports is about $267,000 in our budget. So that's about, when you take everything that's spent together, that's 1% or less of the entire budget.
And
then
that's stayed constant for many years.
Right. And then the rest of the budget is made up of the fees and also gate receipts from events and maybe some booster money and things like that. But the booster money isn't part of the budget. We've tried to maintain a 50-50 split, and right now that doesn't look like that's realistic.
Over the years, we were able to maintain the 50-50 split only by increasing the user fees.
Right.
So we did that consistently. We haven't done it in several years.
Our user fees are pretty high, though.
But yeah, we've got to a point where in order to keep up with that 50-50 split and to balance the athletic budget, we increased fees, and I don't know that the committee wants to go in that direction at this point in time.
The total athletic budget is $522,000, and $267,000 of that comes from, is raised and appropriated by the town. So it's about 50.2% that's coming from the town right now. So I think Carl and Kathy are going to put that into the budget, and then that'll be up for discussion. So there was one other item we discussed, which kind of comes at a bad time, but I did promise the athletic director I would at least put it in front of the committee. One of the issues we have with some of our sports is there are no assistant varsity coaches. It's most critical, I think, with baseball and softball, because the JV softball and varsity softball, JV baseball and varsity baseball teams play at the same time. So the assistant coach is really the JV coach. So we've had a number of situations over the past years where the head coach is sick or for some reason can't coach a game, and we have to change schedules around. We have to find someone that can coach a team. We might have to cancel a JV game. And it's not only that, it practices. There's only one coach running a practice with 18, 20 kids, and the same thing with JVs.
Well, it's difficult to even manage a game with one coach. I mean,
right.
Every game is,
right.
Most teams come in and they do have a second coach involved.
Exactly.
With the team.
So the two main teams that we talked about were the baseball and softball. It was also discussed. We discussed soccer a little bit, but their games are sometimes played at different times, and a lot of times they'll practice together. And we also discussed boys lacrosse. I think. Girls lacrosse, for some reason, was okay, but boys lacrosse,